Welcome back to part 3 on Guerrilla Film School on Whimsy. I'm a slightly more enthusiastic Stephen Haydon, and right quick, I just want to say that Whimsy is the film that almost wasn't. We had to reschedule it twice. Now, the first night we were going to film it, it was too cold. I mean, it was freezing out. We would have had to have been in heavy winter jackets. So what we decided to do is Kip and I, we went out to the sculpture garden and we planned out all of our shots in advance. Now, that's a great piece of advice for all you young filmmakers out there. Basically, we got to plan out, some of the more complicated shots like this one, where you see me walk forward, stop, the camera pans over, reveals Pei, tracks her as she walks back to in front of the 5-plate pentagon as she walks out of frame, and then have the reveal of me coming out from behind the statue. That was a very complicated shot to plan out in advance, so it gave Kip and I a chance to just talk about what we're going to do, and so that we wouldn't have to worry about it come the day of the shoot. And it allowed us to go bam, 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 knock everything out of the park. Like I said, we filmed this in 2.5 hours, roughly, give or take. Also, on that first night, it wouldn't have worked because there were a lot of high school students out there taking homecoming photos. So, there were a ton of kids in tuxes and dresses, and, what would you think if you saw this scene and, there's couples in the background walking by? It would have been kind of odd. A little bit more odd. The second day that we were supposed to film, it was pouring out. It was overcast, there was rain. Now, Kip was a little bit gung-ho about filming anyway, saying, no, it's good. Your script takes place over the course of 3 days. We can get some footage that will take place on the second day, and it will be overcast. It'll work perfect with how the character's feeling. And I'm pretty down in the dumps at this point. I was like, I don't know. Well, I guess that'll work. So I called Pei, saying we're still going to go through with filming, but she was pretty iffy on it. She had a lot on her plate at the time. She was taking 20 credits in order to graduate, so ultimately she canceled, seeing how we wouldn't be able to get the whole thing filmed. And I don't blame her, and I'm happier for it, since I don't know how this would have affected. Also, because it took place over the course of 3 days, that is why you see me buttoned up right there. Instead of, going through the meticulous process of changing wardrobes from day to day, I thought, well, for day 2, I'll be buttoned up and I'll have a hat on. Of course, I left my hat in the trunk of my car and I parked on the other side of the park. And we were shooting on the fly, so I couldn't put it on, so that's why I'm buttoned up. And, this was an exact script-to-screen vision, the closest I've had with all my scripts. But with it taking place over the course of 3 days, we lost sunlight so fast that I changed it on the fly while we were filming it and in the editing process to take place over 1 day. So the initial shots you see of Steven walking and encountering Pei, that takes place on the way to work. This stuff was supposed to take place on the way home from work. And then everything that happens in front of the Nomad is still lingering. Instead of being a third day, it's just the character never left the park after this scene right here. Well, I want to talk about the inspiration for this film. There were 3 movies that really inspired it, and that was Bunny and the Bull, The Brothers Bloom, and Pina. I'll talk more about Pina when it comes to the dance sequences. But Bunny and the Bull and Brothers Bloom both feature characters named Steven. A lot of art films do, Steven with a PH, so those films, I've always said, kind of speak to me more than others. The music, however, comes from this band from the UK called the Ralph Band. And they actually did the soundtrack for Bunny and the Bull. Pretty much all the songs that you see in Whimsy were in Bunny and the Bull. But what I did was I purchased all of their songs, and after we filmed this, I didn't look at footage for a week. Instead, I just listened to the Ralph Band's music. As I live a half hour away from where I go to school, so, essentially an hour a day, it would just be me listening to this music, going, well, this might work here for this sequence, or this might work here for this sequence. And in fact, the music that plays over this sequence here is called Steven. So that was the one song that I knew from the get-go would be featured throughout the entire thing. In fact, while we were filming this, that music is going through my head. So there's that. Another thing I want to talk about is voiceover narration. Now, if you don't have access to a recording studio, which is exactly the case here, The best alternatives to record are in a parked car or in a closet. That sounds crazy, I know, but originally when we recorded the audio, Kip and I sat in my car in my garage. It's nice and quiet. No outside sound could really affect it. And, Kip basically held the Zoom H4n, which is what we use to record. It's a mic. And he basically acted as kind of like voiceover coach. He heard my voice, what I was trying to do, going, well, the past 6 weeks. And he goes, oh, okay, you're going kind of grandpa with it. And so, he was there to kind of slap me at times, saying, no, you're transitioning back into your own voice, do it this way. But afterwards we realized that we had set the mic for too low, so when I tried putting it in with the movie, the music actually overpowered the sound on the mic. It was just too low. So the next day I wound up re-recording everything in a closet. In fact, that's where I'm doing this commentary right now. I'm just sitting in a closet talking into this mic while watching the footage on my computer. I hope you guys enjoyed this segment. We're over halfway done, guys. Only 2 more to go. Hopefully I kept your interest. Let's get her done. Take care.